Wade Taylor made his return, scored 12 points, 3 of 13 from the field, 5 of 6 at the line. A&M's free throw woes are ongoing. We learned that. And I didn't watch the game on Saturday night, but when I was watching it as a heartbroken Lions fan on Sunday morning, it was a very, very sloppy game, OB, but one that you had to win and one that makes you feel better for actually winning.
Well, first of all, Wade, I'm not surprised if he's just a little bit rusty. I mean, he sat down for 3 games, but he showed in what, 24 minutes of play, just what he means to that team. I think you said 5 of 6 at the free throw line.
Yes.
The rest of the team was something like 4 of 11 or 4 of 15. You know, it just underscored how valuable he is. And yeah, they're going to A&M rarely has a game where it's just aesthetically pleasing. That's not who they are. Again, they're the workmanlike team, and they worked over LSU, especially in the second half. They got on a 10-0 run, and it wasn't even a beautiful 10-0 run because it took 5 minutes, but they 10-0 run, took control of that game. And yeah, big win. Every win in the SEC is a big win.
And they're all hard to come by, and you're going to have a couple of road tests again later this week. You got to go to Oxford to face Ole Miss, an Ole Miss team that just lost their first conference game at a rivalry game in Starkville in overtime. And then on Saturday night, or Saturday afternoon, I should say, you got to go to Austin to play at the Moody Center against the Texas Longhorns.
Never been to the Moody Center.
I haven't either, and I would have liked to go, but we're sending the more competent basketball crew to that game. But I've heard it's a great venue. But that's a team that's struggling. They're 2-3 to begin SEC play. They might be 1-4. But Rodney Terry's job might be on the line, so you might be getting a desperate Longhorn team. There's always a ton of tests. Each and every single game is going to be a tough test that you got to study for and be ready for.
We said it before. The bad teams in the SEC are good.
SEC basketball chatter. Locally, at least, the big story of the week was Wade Taylor returned to Texas A&M's lineup on Saturday night as the Aggies took down LSU. Wade had missed the last 3 games. He had been hobbled before that with an undisclosed injury. He scores 12 points in the 11-point win. How important was it to get him back for Buzz Williams and company, and as they move forward, to get him back into game shape and game fitness?
Well, I think it was incredibly important. I mean, he is as valuable as anybody in the SEC. I thought in his absence, I thought Phelps played really well, and he understood the assignment, which was, we need you to get, go out there and be a bucket. We're going to use you on a lot of possession. It's opened up now for you to be the guy to take some shots, and he's proven to be a high volume scorer. I'm thinking especially about the coming games for them. Starting midweek, I'll be in Oxford, freezing my tail off, but I'll be in Oxford for the A&M game Wednesday night. And what they do defensively, what Chris Beard does, it's very similar to what Buzz wants to do in terms of kind of packing the middle, trying to keep the ball on one side of the floor, daring you to try and skip past or reverse it where they lay in wait, and they do an amazing job with takeaways. But to that point, you really have to have threats on both sides of the floor to take advantage of it. And you need, in big games, Taylor and Phelps to be on the floor at the same time. And so I think that's really important going forward. And I hope his hip is good enough. I hope the movement isn't limited. And like you said, getting back in game shape, I mean, I hope he's able to get up and down the floor and can give quality minutes. He doesn't have to be, he's spoken about, well, I want to be 100% to be back on the floor. Listen, he's enough of a threat. He doesn't have to be 100%. I know he wants to be. I'm sure Buzz wants him to be, especially from an effort standpoint on both ends of the floor. But just having a threat against a defense like Ole Miss and how they play it is enough to try and stretch them out, to try and then find holes in what they want to do.
But it's an Ohio State team that's favored by, at least I saw, 8.5 points. I see it on the board behind you. The line's now moved to 8. How do you see this one shaking out? Is it going to be the Bucks rolling over the Irish this evening?
I think it's. I've got Ohio State winning by 11.
Wow.
So I think it's just tacking on a field goal late. Look, I think Quinshon Judkins and Travion Henderson, they're the deciding factor tonight. They're very good, but I'm always left wanting a bit more from their rushing attack. Can they find chunk yardage on the ground against Notre Dame's defense? And if you pair a few big chain moving runs with Will Howard's mobility, the Ohio State Buckeyes are national champions. And I think Jeremiah Smith comes to life again. He's going to be facing man coverage. He lit up the playoffs to begin this bracket. We saw Texas use their zone coverage to limit him to practically no production last week. And now he's facing a secondary that's in man coverage more than any college football program except for Purdue. So the Irish didn't allow a single completion to Penn State wide receivers. This is a different beast, way different. You're going to have some freshmen against freshmen. Jeremiah Smith's the best, not just freshman, but best receiver, period. He will get his. Can Notre Dame limit those explosive plays from him? Notre Dame pulls the upset if they stay consistent in two areas. They got to force turnovers, and they have to be consistent on their own rushing attack. Can they do that against Ohio State? I'm just betting they won't. I do think it's a close game for the majority of 4 quarters, though.
So if your prediction comes true, Ohio State lifts a trophy tonight. Does the chatter about Ryan Day and his Michigan boogeyman, does that stop? Because it's been over 8,000 days since they've last beaten the Michigan Wolverines. Will the fan base in Columbus finally get over it if it means being champions of the college football world?
I think the majority will either be over it or they will pretend to be. There will be some vocal fans, the ones that didn't show up to round one that chose not to go and allow Tennessee fans to hit the road and grab nearly free tickets, but very affordable tickets. They're the ones that are going to be saying this. Michigan holds the trump card over Ohio State this year, the fan base of the program. They won the title last year. Charlie Baker said they won fair and square, which pissed off everybody. And Ohio State, that's after Ohio State, I know, played a big role in turning them in for rules violations or sportsmanship problems. And then Michigan beat them again, 13-10 this year, and then planted their flag on their field. And then after that, it woke Ohio State up, so to speak, and they're off on this run. But, I mean, it's still the program that owns Ohio State in the back of their mind. Despite the run that they've been on, it's still been about what happened against Michigan with only 10 points.
So how tough road wins
Well, look
are
at
in this
Vandy
league.
in Tennessee.
Yep.
Look at, well, it's the opposite. Like Missouri, who no one, like we're not talking about Missouri right now. We're talking about Bama and Kentucky and, there's Auburn and the Aggies got to go play Ole Miss in Texas this week, and we know Texas is going to want. Missouri went into the swamp and Missouri went into Gainesville and beat Florida. Vandy beat Tennessee at home. It's just the league is going to be like this this
if you
year.
think you've got a chance to come up for air, you're about to face an Ole Miss team that beat Alabama.
Well,
so
and I have people, and Ole Miss beat Bama, and I have people that are like, that friends of mine or that are saying like, well, okay, you're not going to beat, let's look at the schedule and try to get to 9 wins and try to get to 10 or 11, and they're looking at it, or man, this could happen, it'll be 8 and 10. And what they're doing a lot of is when they do that is they're saying, okay, you're going to lose to Auburn, you're going to lose to Tennessee, Ole Miss is really good, you're going to lose in Oxford. And they're doing stuff like that. And number one, nobody's sitting there going, you're going to lose, somebody, well, you're not going to go win at the Hump in Starkville. They're really good right now. But no one's looking at Missouri going, you're going to go lose up there. So there's so much fallacy in that because they're saying, yeah, you're going to go win on the road at Missouri because you're better. And it's like, what? Like, you mean the same Missouri team that just beat?
Yeah.
And the same Missouri team that beat Kansas earlier, that Missouri? And then you're also wrong in assuming that A&M can't beat anyone on the schedule. And that can be said about a lot of teams, but the Aggies, to assume they can't go and steal some of these games away from Reed Arena and much less win a couple of big ones at Reed. You haven't watched this team this year, particularly with Wade, but I would contend even without him.
Yep.
Oklahoma, Alabama, Kentucky, those 3 games. But on the flip, you also haven't watched Aggie basketball the last 3 seasons in terms of what they can do to reach up and pull someone down in their style play, that type of game, and beat them. Rick Barnes knows that. John Calipari knows that. Bruce Pearl knows that. You can go on and on.